am super excited because I have Marci Wayman on the line, whom I've had on the show before, and I got to say she's probably one of my favorite guests because she's just so inspiring and has so many great ideas and so much love to share. But Marci, hi Marci.
Woohoo!
Yay! You're here. I just need to turn you up a little bit. Marci is a life doula. She is also the executive director of Good Grief Guidance, also known as the Serene.
Yes.
Tell me, the Serene, what does that mean?
Well, since Good Grief got founded long ago, the founder and I would talk about how grief is a movement. And we'd even talk about, do we need to rename this? Because, grief. And yet, grief is a gift. And grief is an energy. It's part of love, the joys and the sorrows of loving. And so we really understood that as we tend to the pain of being alive, our grief, that it shifts, it opens who we are and connects us, unites us with all of life. And in doing so, really centers us in our well-being. And when you're in that connected place of wholeness within yourself and all of life, well, then you can welcome everything that comes your way. And that feeling, that shift is the serene.
You know, I love that. And listening to you talk, it's making me reflect on something that I really appreciate about you, is you have your own personal experience and story of loss and healing, and as all of us do, and because grief touches us in many different ways, it doesn't have to just be the loss of a loved one. But something that's really, I find really noticeable and inspiring about you is how you have learned to embody your grief in a way that's very authentic. And you, like, I always get the sense, and I can always just feel how you've worked with your grief and you've transformed it into something, I don't know what, but it's yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you. That feels amazing. And yeah, I think one of the biggest things, the messages, if we can get out there to the world, is you don't need to be afraid of your pain. And so can we welcome it as the messenger, the medicine that's within the love that we're feeling disconnected from. And if we can understand that, if we can understand that pain doesn't have to take us down, instead it can be a bridge back to wellness, well, I think that sort of level of welcome and connectedness can not only then transform the self, but it transforms all of your relationships, because suddenly conflict, which is part of grief, that too can be welcomed. Is this another portal, another opening for greater vulnerability and intimacy? And then if your relationships are changing, well, then suddenly all the structures in life of our society begin to change and reflect that welcome within ourselves, in between us.
Yeah, I love how you said the bridge, like it's a bridge to wellness, and I also noticed that for me it's been a bridge to coming back to myself, coming home to myself, right?
Yep.
And a little story I want to share that happened last night. I find that an easy place for me to access my grief is being a parent. Like, I think mothering needs to have its own title of grief. Like, because
100%.
because I'm just so intimately aware of all the ways that I've just failed my children, and then like I can go down this like really unhealthy storyline of how I'm this mediocre mom and my kids are going to turn out like that you know, whatever. And you know, I was working last night, and my youngest, she was climbing down the stairs of her bunk bed, fell, landed on her wrist, and I got called home from work to take her to the urgent care. And this happened to my son on my birthday weekend this summer. He was skateboarding down a skateboard ramp, fell, and I was out of town. So it's this moment of like, oh my God, here it is again. I am failing my children. Right? Like they're going to have their own situations, but I wasn't there. And so just sitting with that and learning how to like work with that pain of sadness. And for me, it can be some guilt and shame. And to me, those are intimately tied with my grief as well. So it's fascinating.
Definitely. Well, and going back to the parenting thing, especially with our kids, we want to be able to hold our children in every way. And we all want that intimacy with life, regardless of whether or not we're parents or not, just that whole, we are all children of life, and that need from the get-go to feel held by it, held within it. And that is not existential pain. I think that's probably one of the biggest griefs that our society is feeling collectively. And when we don't feel this belonging with life, when we feel that we are not held by this larger force of love that is us, has given rise to us, it's the foundation of why all of us are here, which is to grow more of that love. And so we're always wanting those opportunities to connect and grow more of that love. And especially as parents, we're like, we got to be able to be there at every moment when life does a dance with our kid and and we're not able to rush in and hold. And so instead, it's like, well, we're parents and they're children, but ultimately we're more than those roles. You can call it the soul, you can call it whatever you want, but we're all on this trip together. And even when we're not able to be there physically for one another, first of all, can we trust that, say, our children or whoever it is that we love, and we're not there to be able to hold, say, physically when they're struggling, can we trust in this larger love that does unite us? Can we trust in their soul's journey to practice their own relationship with that wholeness, that larger love that is us and connects us? And so can we also stay in that place of connection and trust in that love when others are suffering, rather than taking on each other's pain, which somehow we're told to do as parents.
As women, as parents.
As women, all of it. And yet outside, it's no. And that's the other thing. I think a lot of the reasons why we take on each other's pain, whether parents or just women or men or people in general, why we tend to take on each other's pain is because we do know that we belong to each other. We do feel that inherent care and responsibility for one another. And so, we just haven't exactly, we take relationship for granted in this culture. We teach the 3 R's of reading, writing, and arithmetic, but we don't teach the big R of relationship. And so I think one of the most beautiful acts of love is actually not taking on each other's pain, instead being like, I trust in you. I trust in you that all is well. That serene bit, and that life will be there to hold you. Even when this one part of life, me, this one person, mother or otherwise, isn't there to hold you, it's okay. Like you can be held by life and begin to create your own relationship with yourself and life and what that looks and feels like. So rather than rushing in when opportunities arise, again, parents or otherwise, you can be coworkers, friends, whatever it is, and we see someone suffering, rather than rushing in and taking it on, be that companion. Just allow trust in their being that they will navigate this, that the pain, whatever comes up, it's not the end of them or ourselves. Again, it's that opening of what's going to emerge from this. what are we going to learn about ourselves and each other? How is this going to deepen our relationship, our bond, our belonging?
I love that because kind of what I heard is you're seeing the other person, you're acknowledging, like, yeah, I see that you're in pain, and then you're affirming that they are whole, that they are capable. Like, you are a whole being and you are capable of handling this, and I am going to stand beside you while you do it. But I'm not going to do it for you, and I'm not going to save you from it. But I know, and I trust that you can do this. And how empowering is that?
Oh, heck yeah. It feels amazing. And it sends the message that life is not out to get you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's a message we need to all of us hear over and over and over. Life's not out to get you. Life,
and your neighbor's not, and that guy that cut you off on traffic is not, and that lady that gave you the dirty look is not, right? Like, the stories that we can easily come up with to affirm that life is out to get us because we're stuck in that victim consciousness, for sure. Yeah.
Well, we're just stuck in our pain, whether it's victim or whatever it is. It's just, when we're stuck in our pain, we're disconnected. And so the other person who's giving you the dirty look or whatnot, I mean, maybe they're projecting their own disconnection on you, or maybe you're perceiving the dirty look that's not even there, and you're projecting your own stuck pain onto that. It's, where's the grace and compassion that we can all begin to have for ourselves? And then what naturally happens is we envelop everybody else within that compassion.
Something that, especially during these times, that I've really been sitting with is a couple things. Life has always been uncertain. The level of certainty that I felt I had prior to these times was a complete illusion. And it's okay that in my life there is uncertainty, because I know that I'm capable of whatever comes my way. I believe in my innate wisdom, and I believe in the way that I see the world is guiding me to goodness, right? And then the other thing is how nobody is responsible for keeping me safe, happy, healthy, and connected. That, it's my privilege, it's my opportunity when I feel that uncertainty to really tune into myself and find what I need, right? And nobody is going to find that for me. And how much, like, these times have taught me how much we really need each other.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we really need each other.
Yeah, and so we need to recognize that we are each other. And that's, we don't ever get to have certainty. That's what COVID has been a nice reminder of. And anybody who's experienced loss of any kind, whenever your life gets, even last night, finding out, right, what happened with your daughter, we have no idea as we awaken to the new day of what is life going to bring. And we are forever in the mystery. We just got a big reminder of it with COVID collectively, that, oh, wow, what is this thing? And so that thing is actually the biggest gift. It's the biggest freedom, not COVID necessarily, but the mystery to begin to understand that all of this is the unknown. Suddenly it's really liberating. Yeah, there are no constraints. There are no certainty. You get to be in the dance. I mean, you can literally dance too. Your body can be moving and shifting that energy. But really, as you stay attuned, that's truly what I believe the mystery, the unknown is asking us every day, is just pay attention. Pay attention. And I think we pretty much have curated a culture that is set up to have us be really afraid of paying attention.
Yeah.
And yet, if we can stay tuned in to what's happening, and again, welcome it, knowing that whatever it is that comes our way is not going to be the end of us, well, suddenly there's actually greater safety in knowing that there is no certainty. Right? If some things were certain, well, then you'd feel like you wouldn't have any control. But if things are really that open-ended, where we're just in the mystery, we're in the mix of all these different forces that are the unknown, they're ebbing and flowing and giving rise, and then suddenly you're like, wow, I'm a creator. Well, okay, life. What are we going to create together? And so that was actually, when you were talking about, you can tell it, I've worked with my grief and my loss, coming to that place where I'm like, wow, okay, you're right. I don't know what's going to come my way. But because of that freedom, I feel liberated to say, okay, I get to decide, kind of like what I think your second point where you were going, where you're pointing toward about you get to decide how you're going to be in the dance.
Yes. Yep.
You get to decide how you're going to be in the dance. Whatever comes up is like, oh, life put a new song on. Okay, I'm going to feel into this rhythm. What are the dance steps? Okay. Okay, I'm going to allow myself to be there and feel into it. And again, trust that ultimately all is well.
Yeah.
And I don't say that lightly. My children and I were devastated by the very sudden and traumatic, gruesome even loss of my husband, their father. And we all died along with them. Our whole life, our relationship to ourselves and one another. It is brutal. It does cut you down. It takes you to your knees, and you don't think you will ever, that life is over. You think life is over.
Yeah.
And so to be able to say, no, what is life now asking of you right now?
Yeah.
How is this an opening? And the other truth is that we're still human. We're still a mess. So it's going to look really messy maybe for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I think there are also messages out there that there's something wrong with the mess.
Right.
There's something wrong to be in resistance. All of it. No. Resistance can be a beautiful thing. It can be its own soft womb and a place for the soul to convalesce. Sometimes it's too much for the mind, and that's okay. And the mess? Are you kidding me? We might all be, life is sacred, and so along with it, so are we. And to truly feel that intimacy with the preciousness of life, we're going to be sometimes looking and feeling like a complete and utter mess in order to connect in to all those powerful energies that we are and that are beyond us. And that's beautiful. Like, that's, when we're a mess, we're feeling it all, and that's exactly as it should be. So rather than condemning ourselves or one another when it looks like we're spinning or falling apart again, that whole, it looks like the person's suffering, so we need to rush in and help.
Yeah.
There's beautiful healing and awareness that is beginning to awaken within that being.
I'm just sort of reflecting on, I just keep seeing this picture of like a toddler. If you watch a toddler play, it's chaos. You're like, what? It's kind of like, what are you doing?
Totally.
And they bring so many different elements of stuff, and like things are exploding across the room, and it's just pure chaos. Sure. And they have no clue what they're doing. It doesn't even matter what they're doing, the process. They're just so in the moment and just responding to the moment that there's just pure, like the opportunity for creation and inspiration and joy is so alive because they're just in the moment. Yeah, just made me think of that.
I love it. Perfect example.
So much opportunity and chaos.
So much opportunity and chaos. It is not something to fear. We don't have to run back to the familiar. And yet, though, that creativity, it's why we see a lot of people get stuck in their grief. It does become the familiar, and then it feels like something they can control because it's the known. But to actually tend to that pain and allow it to shift well, suddenly that asks of you a whole new level of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because now you truly are in this creative act, the unknown. You're in the dance, and you don't know what the next step is going to be, which seems really terrifying. And yet it's also that toddler excitement of, right, what happens next? Let's find out. Where does this go?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about all these initiations we go in life. How in one life we live many different lives, and in each stage, each life, we are such a different person. There's elements of similarity that get pulled throughout, but I've been diving deep in initiations for women specifically, and how when we don't allow these certain aspects of us to die, we end up going on these sort of quests in life, for lack of a better word, like, searching through traveling, through drinking, through partying, through degrees, through shopping. Right? Like we're searching for this energy of liberation because we're stuck. Because we haven't allowed that part of ourselves to die so we can be reborn into this new aspect of ourselves. Because, yeah, right?
Yep, there it is. I do Kundalini yoga and Satanama, right? Birth, life, death, rebirth. My mantra, truly, if we're asked to be living that truth every single day, even if sometimes it means every hour of the day, if not from minute to minute, we need to allow ourselves to be born into that minute, live it, let it die, and let it rebirth, because every moment is an act of creation, and we are literally recreating ourselves on every level of being through every engagement with all of life, every conversation, every person, and not just us, but the other person or life form, whatever it is being recreated too. Birth, life, death.
And doesn't science, hasn't it proven that our cells are completely new every 7 years? So even on the cellular level, that's happening.
Well, and even grief, how it lives in the body. It can change you on that cellular level. And so as you come into a relationship with another, because, here's the other thing. Yes, like you were speaking to, the essence of who you are is eternal and forever whole. And how that lives, hopefully, the idea is we are living ourselves differently all the time. Again, that act of creation is what we're here to do. And so even in a conversation, whatever, it's not this is my truth and that's your truth and over there that's your truth. This is what I've lived and experienced and felt into and created some ideas around. What you got? And then as we come into dialogue, it's just an exchange. And then from that, what emerges? What is wanting to be revealed? If we can begin to practice that, again, everything that we understand about ourselves, our culture, the larger world, and even the human condition begins to be transformed.
I love that you make that statement a lot. What is wanting to be revealed? And what I love about that, it's reminding us the importance of curiosity, right? Like, when you're driving down the street and that guy cuts you off, here's a moment of being curious. Like, oh, wow, what's going on with me? Like, how am I reacting? Right? Like instead of coming up with a story, being curious and open.
Right. Yeah. Right, because again, we are each other. We are each other's teachers.
Yeah,
there is no division. We tend to other one another when we're wanting to look away from ourselves or wanting to protect ourselves. What's troubling us, whatever it is, or to just not even know ourselves. What is it that's coming up that we cannot? Why is it that we can't welcome the dirty look and be like,
yeah,
what's going on there? Or when our kids. Like it was with your daughter last night, falling out of her bed, and it was my teen daughter who just started to let me know how she didn't feel that she belongs because of how she was taking in some different kids' responses, right? We personalize that so much rather than being curious of, I wonder what's going on for them. Yeah. What's happening with them? We're all in a relationship with one another. What's going on? We know this is a time that all of us are struggling, no matter our age. That's the what's wanting to be revealed part is this constant reminder for me of no matter what my response is to another person or what they are, however they're responding to me, it's always the question of how well. It goes back to this. The reason why you first asked me on the show is let's talk about unity.
Yeah.
And
that was going to be the topic.
It was.
It kind of is right now.
I love talking with you, Shanti.
I know.
And we kind of are.
We kind of are.
We're talking about how do we come from that place of welcome, which is unity, is recognizing ourselves within one another.
Yeah.
And I guess that's my big point is true unity is not thinking or believing or anything the same. There's no conformity in unity. It's just truly, can we recognize ourselves within one another?
Yeah.
And not only can we find ourselves in one another, but truly that can we find ourselves through one another? So can I find myself within you? And wow, there's this similarity or this thread of human shared experience. Because we are all messy and also sacred beings. But also, does it also unlock and reveal something about me? What is there? Is there something? That's why meditation is a beautiful thing, and you can go be Buddha on the mountain forever long, and it can be an extraordinary experience. And we are each other. So to be able to bring that mentality into the minutia of the day-to-day of, what's going to happen in the next moment or with the next person or experience that's going to further open and awaken me to allow me to all the more fully open my heart and grow some love, which expands my consciousness and really, again, then just circles back and deepens that, there is no separation between me and life. Yeah. All is whole, all is one.